The most unsettling thing about being observed isn't the watching. It's realizing the watcher still doesn't understand what they're seeing. Somewhere between obsession and incompetence, people started tracking your behavior like it was a crime scene. They logged your habits, dissected your timing, replayed your words, zoomed in on your pauses, and circled dates on invisible calendars like something had to click eventually. They were convinced that if they watched long enough, your pattern would expose itself, that you'd slip, repeat, react on schedule, become legible. Here's the uncomfortable fact they didn't account for. Studies in behavioral analysis show that pattern-based profiling collapses the moment a subject acts from principle instead of impulse. Once behavior is guided by internal alignment rather than emotional stimulus, prediction accuracy drops sharply. In simple terms, when someone stops reacting and starts deciding, the algorithm breaks, and you did exactly that without even announcing it. That's why this situation has quietly shifted from curiosity to fixation. What began as casual observation turned into note-taking. What started as attention became surveillance, not because you're loud or dramatic, but because you don't perform for the observer. You don't offer emotional receipts. You don't confirm expectations. You don't react on cue. And worst of all for them, you don't even seem aware that you're supposed to be predictable. There's a strange humor in it if you really think about it. Imagine spending months studying someone only to realize your spreadsheet has more emotional investment than the person you're watching. They're zooming in, slowing footage down, comparing screenshots, whispering theories, while you're just living your life, adjusting quietly, upgrading internally, and refusing to play the role they assigned you. This isn't about secrecy, it's about sovereignty. You didn't hide your code, you outgrew the system trying to read it. And now the watchers are stuck staring at patterns that refuse to repeat, behaviors that refuse to stabilize, and a presence that keeps slipping out of every category they try to trap it in. That's where the panic sets in. Not because you're doing something extreme, but because you're doing something they can't map. And once that realization lands, observation turns into frustration. Frustration turns into obsession. And obsession turns into the quiet understanding that the problem was never you. It was their framework. Number one, they expected repetition, but you evolve through contradiction. They thought if they watched you long enough, you would eventually circle back to an old version of yourself. Most people do. They repeat the same reactions, defend the same wounds, and respond to pressure in familiar ways. That's how patterns get locked in. That's how behavior becomes easy to predict. But you don't move like that. You don't repeat yourself just because history says you should. You change in ways that don't follow a straight line, and that alone ruins their entire method of observation. One day you're open, expressive, and visible. Another day you're quiet, withdrawn, and unreachable. From the outside, that looks inconsistent. From the inside, it's alignment. You're not reacting to moods or external pressure. You're responding to where you are internally. That's the part they can't grasp. They expect growth to look smooth and logical, but real growth often looks like contradiction to people who don't understand it. They try to label you as unstable, confused, or unpredictable, because that's easier than admitting their framework is too shallow. What they don't see is that your core never changes. Your values stay intact. Your standards don't shift. Your direction stays clear. What changes is your expression. You adjust based on what you've learned, what you've outgrown, and what no longer deserves access to you. This is why their notes stop making sense. The version of you they studied last month doesn't respond the same way today. The thing that used to get a reaction now gets nothing. The situations that once slowed you down no longer register. They call it inconsistency, but it's actually integration. You're absorbing lessons and applying them in real time. You don't evolve by erasing your past. You evolve by refusing to be trapped by it. You allow yourself to contradict old habits because you're loyal to truth, not familiarity. And that's what makes you impossible to decode. People who rely on repetition to feel powerful don't know what to do with someone who updates themselves without warning. They keep waiting for you to revert, to slip back into something familiar, to confirm their expectations. But you don't. You move forward by shedding versions of yourself that no longer fit. And the more you do that, the clearer it becomes. They weren't studying you to understand you. They were studying you to control you. That plan fell apart the moment you chose evolution over consistency. Number 2. Your calm is not emotional regulation. It's internal sovereignty. People think calm is something you practice, like breathing exercises or counting to 10. They assume you're holding yourself together, forcing peace so you don't fall apart. That's not what's happening here. Your calm doesn't come from effort. It comes from authority. You're not managing emotions, you're governing them. You reached a point where chaos stopped feeling urgent, not because nothing affects you, but because you decide what gets access. When tension shows up, it doesn't hijack your system. It waits for permission. That's the difference they don't understand. Most people are ruled by their reactions. You're ruled by your principles. That shift changes everything. They try to provoke you because that's how they confirm control. A spike in emotion tells them they've found the lever, but you don't spike. You don't rush. You don't scramble to explain yourself. Not because you're numb or detached, but because your inner world isn't up for negotiation. You don't feel pressured to respond just because someone else is uncomfortable. What unsettles them is how steady you stay when things get messy. When voices rise, you don't match the volume. When accusations fly, you don't rush to defend your image. You're not frozen. You're anchored. You've already made peace with who you are, so there's nothing for them to shake loose. Your calm also doesn't collapse under uncertainty. You don't need immediate answers to feel okay. You can sit in the unknown without spiraling. That's rare. Most people panic when they can't predict the outcome. You trust your ability to respond when the moment comes. That trust creates a quiet confidence that no one can imitate. They misread this as indifference, but it's actually selectiveness. You care deeply, you just don't leak energy everywhere. You've learned that not every situation deserves your emotional labor. Not every conflict needs your voice. Not every opinion needs your reaction. That's why they keep watching. They're trying to figure out how you stay composed when the usual pressure points fail. The truth is simple and unsettling. You're not calm because you're avoiding the storm. You're calm because you've built something solid inside yourself. And once someone reaches that level of internal sovereignty, no external force gets to run the show. Number 3. You don't react to bait because you see the structure behind the move. They think you're slow, hesitant, or indecisive when you don't jump at every provocation. They assume that silence or delay means uncertainty or weakness. The truth is, you're not reacting at all. You're observing. You see the architecture of what's happening, the framework behind the words, the unspoken patterns in the action. You're not interested in pawns or distractions. You're looking at the board, studying the full arrangement before committing a single move. That kind of awareness is terrifying for someone trying to predict you because it renders their strategies obsolete before they even begin. Every attempt to manipulate you, every carefully laid trap becomes a lesson rather than a challenge. You don't take the bait because the bait itself isn't real. It's a construct designed to elicit a reaction, and you've learned to see it for what it is. While they are celebrating their small wins, assuming control over you, you're already 5 steps ahead. They can't calculate what they can't measure, and when the measurement relies on emotional reactions, they are left chasing shadows. Your ability to see the structure behind the move doesn't come from intelligence alone. It comes from experience, from noticing the invisible forces that guide behavior, from understanding cause and effect on a deeper level than most people are willing to acknowledge. You know which moves matter, which words carry weight, and which conflicts are distractions. That discernment allows you to respond on your own terms, in your own timing, rather than on theirs. What terrifies them most is the certainty hidden inside your calm. They expect panic, agitation, or confusion, but what they get instead is precision. Every response you make is deliberate, every action carefully aligned with your intent. You're untouchable, not because you're hiding, but because you refuse to engage on their terms. By the time they realize the strategy they designed to control you has failed, the game has already shifted, and you're operating on a level they cannot even map. They're left watching someone who seems to do nothing, but in reality is doing everything. Silently, deliberately, and beyond their comprehension. Number 4, your inconsistencies are deliberate, not emotional leaks. They think they've caught you slipping when you don't act the same everywhere or with everyone. To them, consistency means sameness. Same tone, same access, same reactions. So when you shift, they assume something leaked. A mood, a weakness, a crack in the armor. What they don't realize is that nothing leaked at all. You adjusted. You understand something most people never learn. Behavior isn't supposed to be flat. It's supposed to be responsive. You don't bring your full self into spaces that haven't earned it. You don't offer depth where there's no capacity to hold it. And you don't waste energy pretending that every environment deserves the same version of you. They call this inconsistency because they don't understand context. You understand it deeply. You know that different rooms run on different rules. Power moves differently in private than it does in public. Truth sounds different in safe spaces than it does in hostile ones. So you adapt, not to please, not to deceive, but to remain aligned with yourself. Your core never changes. Your values don't bend. Your boundaries stay intact. What changes is your expression. Some people get your warmth, others get distance. Some get conversation, others get silence. That's not emotional instability. That's discernment. What really frustrates them is that your shifts don't come with explanations. You don't announce why you pulled back. You don't justify why access changed. You don't over-communicate to soothe someone else's confusion. You let your behavior speak for itself because you trust your internal compass more than their interpretation. They try to track your real self, thinking one version must be the truth and the others are fake. They're wrong. Every version is real. Each one is simply appropriate to the situation. You're not fragmented. You're integrated. You know who you are well enough to move fluidly without losing yourself. That's why their analysis keeps failing. They're looking for emotional leaks, but there are none. What they're seeing is strategy mixed with self-respect. You don't show everything everywhere because that would be careless. You show what fits when it fits, and nothing more. And the more you do that, the clearer it becomes. Your so-called inconsistencies aren't signs of confusion. They're signs of mastery. Number 5, you don't mirror people, you expose them. Most people interact by reflecting what they see. They smile when others smile, soften when others soften, match energy without thinking. It's a subconscious way to make connections, to feel safe, to be predictable. You don't operate like that. You aren't concerned with blending in or giving comfort. You don't mirror because your focus isn't on them. It's on revealing what's already inside them. When you enter a room, something shifts. People start performing, not for you, but for themselves. They over-explain, overcompensate, or overreact because your presence doesn't give them the usual feedback they rely on. You don't validate their behavior. You don't reflect their energy. You simply exist in a way that makes them confront their own patterns, their own weaknesses, their own truths. That's why they panic. You're not playing the game, they are. And the board they thought they controlled now exposes everything they've been hiding from themselves. Your influence isn't loud or aggressive. It's subtle, surgical even. You make no effort to manipulate, but your clarity highlights their inconsistencies, insecurities, and pretenses. They scramble to cover cracks you never created. They stumble because they expected a mirror and got a lens instead. That lens doesn't lie, and it doesn't cater. It just reflects reality. What terrifies observers is that this exposure isn't calculated to punish or humiliate. It's natural. You don't seek to dominate or control through revelation. You simply operate from authenticity and integrity. The discomfort others feel is a byproduct, not your intention. They think it's a trap, but really, it's just the truth meeting them in a form they can't ignore. And the more time passes, the more they realize that no amount of scrutiny, manipulation, or observation will hide them from your presence. They are the ones under analysis now. Their attempts to decode you reveal only themselves. The irony is inescapable. In trying to understand your patterns, they become transparent. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to act or perform. By refusing to mirror, you reveal everything they wanted to keep hidden, and that's power they can't touch. Number 6. You break surveillance by refusing emotional predictability. They study people the way someone studies traffic lights, expecting reactions to follow a fixed pattern. Tone rises, pauses lengthen. Stress triggers a spike. They log it all, thinking behavior is measurable, predictable, manageable. That's how they assume control. That's how they feel safe. But you don't operate like that. Your emotions don't function on a timetable, and they certainly don't bend to expectation. You break every formula they try to apply. You don't overreact when they hope for panic, guilt, or confusion. You don't collapse under pressure or rise in anger when provoked. Instead, you respond according to principle, not impulse. Calm becomes instinct, focus becomes habit, and silence becomes strategy. By refusing to let your emotional state be dictated externally, you dismantle the foundation of every tool they use to monitor or predict you. They can chart data points, replay recordings, even analyze patterns for months. But nothing gives them insight into your decisions because they're not based on predictable stress. They're based on clarity, discernment, and integrity. What unnerves them most is that this isn't a skill you learned yesterday. It's embedded in you. Every reaction you have is intentional, measured, and anchored. You've trained your system to respond when it matters and ignore when it doesn't. Emotional manipulation is ineffective because you've removed leverage. You can experience intensity without letting it dictate your actions, and that freedom makes you untouchable. They keep monitoring, hoping to catch a crack, a spike, anything they can label as a reaction. They replay footage, scrutinize conversations, wait for patterns to emerge, and yet, every time they hit a wall. You're not hiding, there's no secret, no facade, but the predictable human behaviors they rely on simply don't exist in your presence. By refusing emotional predictability, you become impossible to control, impossible to anticipate, and impossible to weaponize. Their obsession grows, but it leads nowhere because the reality is simple. You answer to yourself, not to the patterns they hope to exploit. And that alone turns surveillance into frustration, frustration into panic, and panic into total helplessness. Number 7. You don't seek control, you remove leverage. Most people think power comes from dominance, from being louder, smarter, more aggressive, or one step ahead. So when they deal with you, they expect a fight for control. They prepare to push, to pull, to intimidate, to reward, to punish. What they don't realize is that you're not competing for control at all. You're quietly dismantling the very tools they rely on. You don't argue when they provoke you. You don't beg when they withhold. You don't chase when they pull away. That alone disorients them, because leverage only works when the other person needs something. Attention, validation, approval, a reaction. You learned early that the moment you stop needing, their grip loosens. So you stopped offering handles. You removed emotional hooks first. You stopped over-explaining, stopped defending your character, stopped trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. Then you removed expectation. You no longer anticipate fairness, reciprocity, or decency from people who have shown you otherwise. Without expectation, disappointment has nowhere to land, and manipulation has nothing to grab. They try switching tactics. Praise becomes criticism. Distance becomes closeness. Silence becomes noise. None of it works, because every move assumes you're invested in the outcome. You're not. You're invested in your alignment. That's a position they can't threaten, bargain with, or take away. What unsettles them most is that you don't announce this shift. You don't say, "I'm done playing." You just stop playing. Access changes. Energy changes. Your availability changes. And suddenly they're swinging at air, wondering where their influence went. This isn't detachment in the cold sense. You still care. You just care cleanly. You care without attachment, without dependency, without surrendering your center. That's why control never enters the conversation for you. Control requires force. You prefer freedom. By removing leverage, you make power games irrelevant. There's nothing to threaten, nothing to dangle, nothing to withhold. And that's the quiet truth they don't want to face. You didn't overpower them. You simply stepped outside the reach of their hands. Number 8. You act from principle, not mood. And they can't model that. Most people respond to the world based on circumstance. A threat comes, fear rises. Praise comes, pride blooms. They are pushed and pulled by whatever momentary force happens to appear. That's how their patterns are tracked, analyzed, and predicted. You don't operate that way. You act from principle, not mood. Your decisions aren't guided by convenience, pressure, or temporary emotions. They're guided by an internal compass that refuses compromise. That's the line they cannot cross. When they try to manipulate or provoke, they expect you to bend. They expect you to prioritize comfort, convenience, or gain. They expect reactions that match a predictable script. But your actions are never about giving them what they want, and that breaks their models. You walk away from opportunities that conflict with your code. You confront situations that demand alignment over ease. That creates a form of predictability they cannot touch, because it isn't based on them or on outcomes. They have no power over your principles. This is why they panic when you refuse to engage on their terms. A person who reacts from mood can be corralled, bargained with, or intimidated. You, however, operate outside their transactional logic. You weigh truth, integrity, and alignment first, and only then decide. That makes you both rare and terrifying. Rare because so few people function with clarity under pressure. Terrifying because no strategy, threat, or incentive can bend you unless it aligns with your inner standard. They may see what looks like stubbornness or rigidity. They may call it overconfidence or coldness. In reality, it is precision. You aren't fighting the moment. You're refusing to surrender your center to fleeting forces. Every decision is intentional, every boundary consistent, every action purposeful. The result is disarming. They scramble to understand, to predict, to control, while you continue on a path guided by your own internal logic. Their patterns fail because you don't operate within their expectations. Their data is useless because it was built to map reaction, not principle. You are not an equation to be solved. You are a standard they cannot imitate and a force they cannot bend. Number 9. You don't announce shifts, you embody them. They are used to signals, words, statements, declarations, dramatic exits. That's how people tell the world something has changed. They expect you to do the same. They wait for the announcement that confirms what they already suspect, the proof that allows them to track, measure, and categorize. You don't give them that. You don't announce anything. You don't confirm, explain, or dramatize. You simply change, and the world around you notices whether it's ready or not. Every shift you make is internal first. Your boundaries, your focus, your energy, your presence, they all evolve quietly, deliberately, and without fanfare. By the time anyone notices, the old version of you has already disappeared. They try to catch up, to pin down what happened, to understand the transition. But the truth is, there's nothing to grasp, because what they knew is already obsolete. You don't move in stages designed for observation. You move in alignment with your own growth, and that timing is yours alone. What unnerves them is that change in you is absolute, not performative. They expect adaptation to look like compromise, negotiation, or reaction. But your evolution doesn't require approval or explanation. You don't announce a new standard, you embody it. You don't make your exit visible. You exist beyond the space they thought they controlled. Every step you take in your own direction is a quiet message. The rules have changed, and you're the one setting them. Your presence alone communicates the transformation. People feel it in the energy of interactions, in the way decisions are made, in the way attention is given or withheld. No words are necessary because the embodiment is louder than any announcement could ever be. That makes observation frustrating, analysis futile, and control impossible. They scramble to understand, replaying past behaviors, searching for clues, trying to find the point of transition. Meanwhile, you've already moved forward, operating on a new plane, defined by your own standards and untouchable by their expectations. You are not performing change, you are being it, and that is a level of clarity and power they cannot map, let alone contain. Number 10, you absorb information without broadcasting comprehension. Most people react immediately when they receive information. They nod, comment, respond, or signal understanding. That's how observers track behavior. They assume reaction equals processing. You don't play that game, you absorb, you process, and you integrate quietly. Your mind takes in every detail, every nuance, every hidden implication, but the outside world doesn't get to see how much you've taken in. That alone drives anyone trying to read you insane. They assume silence or a delayed response equals confusion or ignorance. They log every pause, every blank expression, hoping it signals weakness or uncertainty. But your pauses are not empty. They're deliberate. You don't rush comprehension to satisfy expectation. You digest in real time, connect dots they didn't even notice existed, and then decide how, when, or if to act. That delay destroys their models because they rely on visible feedback loops to predict you. Without them, their assumptions collapse. Your ability to internalize without signaling creates a quiet advantage. They think they're mapping your strategy while you're mapping theirs. Cataloging information they assume is hidden from you. Every conversation, every observation, every subtle move they make enters your awareness and becomes data you control. You never broadcast how much you know because doing so would give leverage back to them. Knowledge without exposure is power, and you wield it with precision. This also makes you unknowable in a way that frustrates analysts. They can see your actions, but they can't see your understanding. You can hear manipulation, deception, or planning without ever revealing that it's been noticed. You can respond selectively, giving only what aligns with your purpose, keeping them perpetually uncertain about what you know, what you see, and what you're planning next. The irony is sharp. They think watching you is control, but the very act of observation feeds your awareness without altering your composure. By absorbing information silently and refusing to broadcast comprehension, you create a situation where the watcher becomes the observed, and every attempt to predict, influence, or manipulate you simply strengthens your advantage. Number 11. You don't chase clarity. You let ambiguity protect you. Most people rush to explain themselves. They clarify intentions, define positions, label who they are and what they stand for. They do this because clarity feels safe. It reduces conflict, smooths tension, and helps them stay accepted. You moved in the opposite direction. You realized that constant clarity is not protection, it's exposure. You don't correct every misunderstanding. You don't rush to be properly interpreted. When someone forms the wrong conclusion about you, you don't panic or chase them down with explanations. You let it sit, not out of laziness or arrogance, but because you understand something deeper. The need to be clearly understood is often a vulnerability. Ambiguity gives you room. It keeps people guessing, not about your values, but about your access. They don't know how close they are to your inner world. They don't know what version of you they're dealing with. And because of that, they move carefully. Uncertainty slows aggression. It disrupts manipulation. It prevents people from building a fixed strategy around you. They want you defined because definition makes you manageable. Once labeled, you can be categorized, predicted, and targeted. You resist that. You allow space between who you are and what others think you are. That space is where your freedom lives. This doesn't mean you're unclear with yourself. You know exactly who you are. Your standards are solid. Your direction is steady. The ambiguity exists outwardly, not inwardly. You don't owe everyone a full explanation of your thoughts, motives, or future moves. You share selectively based on trust and alignment, not pressure. What frustrates them is that ambiguity doesn't give them anything to grab. They can't quote you accurately. They can't summarize you neatly. They can't trap you in a box you didn't build. Every attempt to pin you down results in more uncertainty. In the end, ambiguity becomes your quiet shield. While others expose themselves trying to be understood, you remain protected by restraint. You move freely, decide privately, and act deliberately. And that's why they keep watching, because clarity would have made you predictable, but ambiguity keeps you untouchable. Number 12. You don't fear being misunderstood, and that terrifies analysts. Most people panic when they are misread. They scramble to explain, justify, or correct, thinking that misunderstanding equals failure. They measure control by perception, believing that if people see them clearly, they are safe. You operate on a completely different plane. You don't fear being misunderstood because your value isn't tied to other people's interpretations. You don't negotiate perception, you live it. That refusal to cater terrifies anyone trying to analyze you because it breaks their foundational assumption that people can be managed through image. They watch for signals, reactions, explanations, anything that confirms the narrative they want to build. They study every word, gesture, and pause, expecting a predictable map of behavior. When you are misunderstood, none of that works. They think confusion or invisibility is weakness. In reality, it's power. By letting others misunderstand you, you control the narrative without speaking a single word. You let them wrestle with assumptions while you operate freely, unshackled by their expectations. Being misunderstood doesn't mean you're unclear. You know exactly who you are, what you want, and how you move. You don't have to over-explain to validate yourself, and that freedom makes your presence impossible to decode. Every attempt to force clarity is their trap, and you refuse to step into it. Their obsession grows, but it only confirms your autonomy. What really unnerves them is that misunderstanding doesn't bother you. It doesn't push you into reaction, correction, or compromise. You're steady in your purpose, anchored in your principles, and indifferent to the narratives they construct. They try to manipulate perception to gain leverage, but there's nothing to grab. They scramble to measure influence through interpretation, but influence isn't granted, it's exercised. And that's the quiet truth. The more they misread you, the more autonomous you become. Their data fails, their models crumble, and they realize too late that they were never watching a system to be controlled. They were watching a mind that refuses to play by anyone else's rules. Misunderstanding isn't a weakness for you. It's your armor. Number 13. Your detachment isn't numbness, it's selectivity. They think you stopped caring. They assume your calm and distance are signs of apathy or emotional shutdown. They study your actions, your words, your energy, and try to convince themselves that the lack of reaction is weakness. They are wrong. Your detachment isn't numbness, it's deliberate selectivity. You choose where your energy goes, who gets access to it, and which battles deserve your attention. That's what makes you impossible to read. You've learned that not every conflict deserves engagement. Not every opinion requires a response. Not every insult, manipulation, or attempt at provocation deserves your energy. By carefully distributing your focus, you conserve power and maintain clarity. Where others scatter themselves across every drama, you concentrate where it matters. That precision is invisible to observers, yet it's devastating to anyone who relies on patterns to predict behavior. This selectivity also reshapes relationships around you. People notice the shifts. They see warmth in some spaces, distance in others, but they cannot interpret why. They think it's inconsistent, confusing, or unfair. They try to force access where there is none, assuming everyone deserves the same level of attention. You don't operate on assumption, you operate on alignment. Energy is a resource, not a currency, and you control its flow with quiet authority. What unnerves them most is that your detachment isn't defensive, it's proactive. You aren't avoiding the world, you're choosing engagement on your own terms. You've developed a radar for what matters, a filter for what is worthy of response. That makes manipulation futile. That makes leverage impossible. That makes you untouchable. While they panic, push, and overextend themselves trying to provoke a reaction, you maintain control without effort. You're not cold, you're calculated. You're not indifferent, you're discerning. And in a world where most people scatter emotional energy recklessly, your ability to detach selectively isn't just a defense, it's a weapon. It keeps you steady, powerful, and unreadable, leaving those trying to study you constantly frustrated and completely exposed. Number 14. They're not failing because you're hiding. Their framework is obsolete. They think they are struggling to understand you because you're secretive, elusive, or deceptive. They believe if only they could find your patterns, read your signals, or decode your behavior, they'd finally have control. The truth is far more unsettling. They're failing not because you're hiding anything. They're failing because their framework is broken. The strategies, systems, and assumptions they rely on were designed for people who act predictably, who respond to pressure, and who can be manipulated through expectation. You don't fit any of those parameters, and that destroys their methods. Every calculation they make, every timeline they project, every model they use to anticipate your reaction collapses under the weight of your autonomy. They've been trained to observe, analyze, and exploit patterns, but you don't behave like anyone they've studied before. Your decisions are guided by principle, your reactions by discernment, and your presence by internal alignment rather than external validation. They've been trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and the harder they push, the more the mismatch becomes obvious. Their obsession grows because they sense that something is slipping beyond their control. They can track actions, but they can't track intent. They can measure responses, but they can't measure alignment. They can predict habits, but they can't predict evolution. And every failed attempt to crack the code makes them more frantic, more desperate, more transparent. The irony is brutal. In their effort to understand you, they've exposed the limits of their own systems. They are the ones trapped in outdated thinking, unable to adjust to someone who operates beyond conventional constraints. They've been playing a game with rules that no longer exist in your world. You're not failing to be seen, you're simply operating on a level that their logic cannot reach. Their panic, their obsession, their frustration isn't a reflection of your complexity. It's a reflection of their obsolescence. And the more they try to decode you, the clearer it becomes that the problem was never you. It was their inability to evolve. The truth is, people spend their lives trying to decode what cannot be decoded. They study, analyze, predict, and manipulate, thinking that patterns and repetition will give them the control they crave. But what they fail to realize is that your power doesn't lie in what they can see, measure, or anticipate. It lies in everything they cannot touch. You don't move on their schedule, react to their provocations, or perform according to their expectations. You operate on principle, on alignment, on sovereignty. You evolve, you adapt, and you embody your growth in ways that defy their models. Every attempt they make to understand you only highlights their limitations, while your clarity, selectivity, and internal authority remain untouchable. From refusing emotional predictability to removing leverage, from letting ambiguity shield you to absorbing information without revealing comprehension, every strategy you naturally employ dismantles their frameworks. You're not inconsistent, you're deliberate. You're not detached, you're selective. You don't announce change, you live it. You don't chase validation, you're guided by truth. And in the process, you reveal the harsh reality that observation without understanding is useless, control without leverage is impossible, and obsession without alignment only exposes the watcher, not the watched. The lesson is clear. Your power doesn't come from being unreadable for the sake of mystery. It comes from being anchored in yourself while the world scrambles to catch up. You are not failing when they fail to understand you. Their framework is obsolete, and their panic is proof of your untouchable presence. You've outgrown the rules designed to contain human behavior, and in doing so, you operate on a plane that no analysis, no manipulation, and no pattern recognition can ever reach. You are not to be cracked. You are to be experienced on your terms. If this message resonates with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content that uncovers hidden truths. Smash that like button to show your support. Comment below and share your thoughts. And share this video with someone who needs to understand the depth of their own untouchable presence. Every action you take helps this message reach the minds that are ready to awaken and stand beyond observation. Stay aligned, stay sovereign, and never let anyone define your boundaries. Merry Christmas, and God bless you.